Okay, welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and really zero in on the absolute essential information from today's sources. This one's specifically for you, the UPSC aspirant. It's your deep dive into the current affairs sources from, let's see, 25th May 2025, Part 1. Our mission, like always, is to unpack the most important details, connect the dots for you, and we'll give you that clear understanding quickly and thoroughly. Now, as we jump in, you might notice some topics are familiar. That's great. Think of it as a good chance for revision, just cementing what you already know. So let's get straight to it. Our first source.
Yeah, the first thing that really stood out talks about bridging divides here in India. It's the Bharat Seva Kendra, or BSK. The news is highlighting its role in, connecting urban resources with rural needs.
Right, and what's really interesting, I think, is how BSK works. It's designed as this practical, on-the-ground mechanism. The sources call it a nationwide initiative, launched by the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of India, CCI India, its main goal, providing government services benefits directly to villagers. It's trying to be that one-stop solution right there in rural areas.
So it's more than just another website or portal then. It's actually physically present.
Exactly. It's framed as a grassroots movement. Yeah. And its power really comes from its network, leveraging 2.5 lakh sarpanches and about 6.5 lakh BSK Sarthis. These are the on-ground facilitators. They're the human connection, linking people directly with welfare schemes, tackling that last-mile delivery issue, which is often a hurdle.
That makes a lot of sense. What kinds of schemes are covered? Is it quite broad?
Seems like it, yeah. The sources mention a pretty wide spectrum: financial aid, healthcare access, education, employment opportunities, also digital empowerment programs, and stuff related to agriculture. The core idea is offering that single-window platform locally, which, should hopefully cut down on those frustrating bureaucratic delays.
Okay, and you mentioned digital inclusion that feels crucial these days. How does BSK handle that?
That is a key feature, you're right. The centers themselves, they're equipped with modern infrastructure so they can help people access existing e-governance services, but they also actively offer digital literacy programs, helping villagers get comfortable with technology, making that access, actually seamless. And this involves collaboration, too, with central and state governments to smooth things out.
Got it. And just quickly, CCI India, the organization behind it, what's their role here according to the sources?
Well, CCI India is described as a national autonomous business organization. They see themselves as the voice of India's business and industry, influencing policy, facilitating business, acting as a catalyst for expansion, that sort of thing. Their involvement here kind of suggests a role for non-governmental bodies, business groups, and these big social initiatives, seeing rural development as linked to wider economic growth.
Okay, so for you listening, especially preparing for UPSC, this BSK example is really useful. It touches on several key areas, things like government initiatives for rural development, practical service delivery mechanisms beyond just online, right? The role of non-governmental bodies like CCI India, and of course that big push for digital inclusion in rural India. Definitely one to note. All right, let's shift focus now, zooming out from local services to, well, a global topic, a major new report on animal health, and that finding about infectious diseases spreading to humans, that really jumps out.
It really does. This is the first ever state-of-the-world animal health report, just put out by the World Organization for Animal Health, WOAH. It's meant to be the first really comprehensive global review, looking at animal disease trends, risks, challenges, even things like vaccine uptake and antibiotic use. And yeah, that headline finding is stark. Nearly half, 47%, the source says, of infectious animal diseases they track can be transmitted zoonotically.
Zoonotic, meaning animal to human.
Exactly, from animals to humans.
Wow, nearly half. That sounds like a major risk for human health, too. What specific diseases did the report flag as concerning or spreading right now?
And give several pretty concrete examples. Hypothogenicity, avian influenza, HPAI, or bird flu. Huge losses there. Over 630 million birds culled in 2 decades. Plus it's hitting new areas. Then there's peste petite mono, PPR, livestock disease, which reemerged in Europe. That's a worrying sign of spread. African swine fever, ASF, reached Sri Lanka. That's a huge leap, over 1,800 kilometers. And they also noted things like over 3,500 cases of blue tongue across 23 countries in 2024. Germany had its first foot and mouth outbreak since 1988. And the New World screwworm popped up again in Mexico and Nicaragua. The report is explicit. Almost half the diseases WOAH listed from 2005 to 2023 were seen as a human health threat due to this zoonotic potential. And factors like climate change, increased trade, they're mentioned as drivers of this spread.
That's a worrying picture. So beyond tracking this, what does the report suggest we do, especially thinking about that link to antimicrobial resistance, AMR?
Right? That link is a huge focus. Prevention, obviously things like vaccination, better hygiene are key. But the report strongly connects preventing animal diseases to reducing the need for antibiotics. Less antibiotic use helps slow down antimicrobial resistance, AMR. And the projection there is grim. AMR could cause U.S. $100 trillion economic loss and jeopardize food security for maybe 2 billion people by 2050 if we don't take urgent action globally. That number alone, it tells you how serious this is.
$100 trillion. That's staggering. Is there any positive news on the antibiotic use front?
It's a bit of a mixed bag, according to the data. Globally, antimicrobial use in animals did fall by 5% between 2020 and 2022. Europe saw a really good drop, 23%, Africa down 20%. But, and this is a big but, the report notes that 1 in 5 countries surveyed still use antimicrobials as growth promoters in their livestock, which is something WAH strongly advises against because it just fuels resistance. And just quickly on WAH itself, it's an intergovernmental body founded way back in 1924. It used to be called OIE, renamed in 2022. It's the Global Authority on Animal Health, sets standards for safe trade, recognized by the WTO.
Okay, this WIH report is clearly crucial information. If you're thinking about global health security, that animal-human health connection, the whole One Health concept, basically climate change impacts on disease, international organizations like WIH, and also the huge economic fallout from these diseases and AMR, plus how it links to agricultural practices. Keep this one high on your list. All right, let's switch gears again. Talking about media and regulation here in India now, there was some recent news about a film needing cuts, which puts the spotlight on a specific body.
Yes, that's the Central Board of Film Certification, the CBFC. It's a statutory body, meaning set up by an act of parliament under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Now, people often call it the censor board, but its function, legally and according to the sources, is really more about certification than outright censorship.
Okay, so what's the legal framework they operate under?
Their power comes from the Cinematograph Act of 1952, plus the Cinematograph Certification Rules from 1983 and guidelines from the central government. The basic rule is simple. No film can be shown publicly in India without getting a CBFC certificate first. Structure-wise, there's a chairperson and between 12 and 25 members, all appointed by the government. It works through 9 regional offices around the country. And for actually examining films, they use advisory panels. These panel members are nominated by the government, come from diverse backgrounds, and serve for 2 years.
And they issue different types of certificates, right? What are the categories?
That's right, there are 4 main ones. They dictate who can watch the film. U is for universal, anyone can watch. UA means universal, but with parental guidance recommended for kids under 12. A is strictly for adults only. And S is restricted to specific groups, like, say, a medical film for doctors or something agricultural for farmers.
Okay. And connecting back to that specific news report about the film cuts.
Yes, the source stated very specifically that the film had 16 cuts. And the reasons cited in the source were caste-related dialogues and politically resonant content, just reporting what the source said there. The sources also make a point to clarify something important. While the CBFC can refuse certification if a film breaks the rules in the Act, actually banning a film completely is usually a power held by the central government itself, not the board.
Understanding the CBFC is definitely key for your UPSC prep. It covers statutory bodies, their functions, the role of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Also, the legal side of media regulation in India, that Cinematograph Act, is crucial, and how the system tries to balance freedom of speech with societal concerns reflected in the rules. Knowing those certificate categories is also a useful detail. Okay, let's pivot again from regulation to something much more peaceful, nature and conservation. We're looking at Keoladeo National Park, often called a paradise of birds.
Indeed. And the recent news add another interesting dimension. The sources are saying Keoladeo is also becoming a really important sanctuary for turtles. It now shelters 8 out of the 10 turtle species found in the whole state of Rajasthan.
8 out of 10. Wow, that's a high concentration. Can we get a quick refresher on the park itself?
Sure. It's probably better known as Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary, located in Bharatpur, Rajasthan. Its history goes back late 19th century. Started as a hunting preserve for Maharaja Suraj Mal, became a bird sanctuary in 56, then a national park in 81. That's when it was renamed Keoladeo, after an old Shiva temple there. It's not huge, about 29 square kilometers, mostly woodlands, swamps, wet grasslands. But internationally, it's very significant. It's both a Ramsar site, meaning a wetland of international importance, and a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Yeah.
Plus, geographically, it's right smack in the middle of the Central Asian Migratory Flyway, a crucial stopover point.
Ah, that explains the famous bird life then. What species should we know about from the source?
Well, it hosts over 360 species. Some live there year-round, others migrate. During the migration season, roughly October-March, birds fly in from places like Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, China, Siberia, really far. The sources list specific examples: gadwalls, shovelers, common teals, tufted ducks, pintails, also white spoonbills, Asian open-billed storks, oriental ibises, and importantly, the rare Siberian crane.
And it's not just birds, right?
No, definitely not. The vegetation is mainly dry, deciduous trees like cadam, john, babel are mentioned, and other animals include pythons, different types of deer, black bucks, even the fishing cat. This new information about the turtles just underlines its importance as a really diverse ecosystem.
So, for your preparation, Keoladeo is a perfect case study. It covers national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, Ramsar sites, wetland conservation, UNESCO World Heritage sites, also the importance of migratory flyways, biodiversity, both flora and fauna, the geography of Rajasthan, and wider conservation efforts in India. For many of you, this will probably be a key revision topic. Okay, big shift now. From natural parks to critical resources. Talking about lithium, sometimes called white gold, there's news about a scientific study related to it.
Right. This comes from Duke University, a study published in Science Advances. They were looking at the specific geochemical properties of lithium-rich brines. These are found in those huge salt pans called salars in parts of South America and Asia. Just for context, lithium itself. It's a very light, silvery white alkali metal, lowest density metal there is, reacts strongly with water, but its real value comes from alloys, makes aluminum and magnesium stronger but lighter, great for aerospace, and crucially, batteries.
And that's the white gold connection, essential for the energy transition.
Exactly that. It's officially a critical mineral, absolutely vital for the renewable energy sector, especially for EV batteries and grid-scale energy storage. And a big chunk of the world's supply, maybe around 40%, comes from extracting it from these brines using evaporation ponds. Mostly in the salt flats of the central Andes, the area often called the Lithium Triangle. That's parts of Chile, Argentina, Bolivia, and also the Tibetan Plateau.
And this Duke study, it focused on one specific salar, right? The really famous one.
Yes, Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia, described as the world's biggest lithium brine reserve, up at a high-altitude, very dry region.
So what did their research find that was new or, well, different about these specific brines?
This is where the chemistry gets pretty specific, but it's important. They found that unlike, say, seawater, where carbonate molecules are the main thing controlling the pH level, in these particular high-altitude brines, the pH is controlled almost entirely by boron compounds, specifically boric acid and borates.
Boron compounds controlling pH, not carbonates. Why is that significant?
Well, that's the key finding. During the evaporation process they use for mining, as water evaporates, everything gets more concentrated, including boron. The study showed that as the boric acid concentration goes up, it breaks down and releases hydrogen ions. This actually lowers the pH, making the brine highly acidic, which is different from what happens in carbonate systems, and crucially affects the chemistry and maybe the efficiency of getting the lithium out of these specific brine types.
Okay, so that link between the unique chemistry, boron, acidity, and the extraction process is the core takeaway. For your prep, this connects to critical minerals, their strategic importance, the whole renewable energy transition, EVs, storage, also global resource geography, knowing about the lithium triangle, how scientific research impacts resource extraction, and even some basic chemistry like pH.
Right. Let's bring it back home with an economic topic, the recent RBI dividend transfer. That number was pretty large.
It certainly was. The Reserve Bank of India approved transferring a surplus of 2.69 lakh crore to the union government. That's the dividend for the 2024-25 financial year. Can you just explain what an RBI dividend actually is?
Sure. It's basically a share of the RBI's surplus profits that it gives to the central government. It's important to remember the government of India is the RBI's only shareholder. The whole process is governed by the RBI Act of 1934, and the RBI's central board has to approve it. The sources mention dividend yield, but clarify the RBI transfer is more of a policy-based institutional mechanism, not quite like private company dividends. And for the government, this is significant. It's a source of non-tax revenue, helps manage the fiscal deficit.
Okay, 2.69 lakh crore, that's a big jump. Why was the surplus so much higher this year compared to last, based on the sources?
The sources point to a few main reasons for this sharp rise in RBI's earnings, which led to the higher surplus. A big one was increased sales of foreign exchange reserves. They specifically mentioned January 2025, when the RBI was apparently the top seller among Asian central banks, likely managing the rupee or other economic goals. Also, higher interest income from its investments played a big part. That's earnings from government securities it holds and its foreign assets. And gains from forex transactions, given the volatility in global markets, also boosted the surplus.
So market operations, investment income, those were the key drivers.
That seems to be the case, yeah. The 2.69 lakh crore for 2024-25 is, 27% higher than the 2.10 lakh crore from the previous year, so a noticeable increase in earnings. And the amount they transfer isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's calculated using the Revised Economic Capital Framework, the ECF. This framework was approved on May 15, 2025. Its job is to figure out how much surplus the RBI can safely give the government while keeping enough capital reserves itself, to absorb potential financial shocks, maintain stability. It's a balancing act.
Right, balancing government needs with the bank's own strength. This is clearly vital for understanding RBI's functions, government finances, fiscal policy, non-tax revenue, also foreign exchange management, financial stability. Understanding terms like dividend in this context and that economic capital framework, ECF, definitely key points for you. Might be revision for some too. Okay, shifting from national economics to the international stage. India has taken on a significant leadership role recently.
Yes, that's right. India has formally taken over the chairmanship of the Asian Productivity Organization, or APO. That's for the 2025-26 term. This happened during the 67th session of its governing body meeting.
Tell us a bit more about the APO. What's its main purpose?
Okay, so the APO is a regional intergovernmental organization. It was set up way back in 1961. Its core mission is to boost productivity across the Asia-Pacific region, mainly through mutual cooperation between member countries. Its activities are quite varied. It helps with sustainable socioeconomic development by offering policy advice, kind of like a regional think tank on productivity. It also runs initiatives in industry, agriculture, services, the public sector, basically trying to help member economies improve and shape the region's future by sharing knowledge and best practices. It's described as non-political, non-profit, and non-discriminatory.
And who are the members? Is India a long-standing member?
Membership is open to countries in Asia and the Pacific that are part of UNESCAP, the UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. Currently, there are 21 member economies. And yes, importantly, India is a founding member of the APO, which makes its current chairmanship even more significant. How they cooperate is through designated national productivity organizations, NPOs, in each country. Members share knowledge, info, experience coordinated through these NPOs and the APO Secretariat, which is based in Tokyo. The top body is the governing body, meets annually, sets strategy, approves things.
India chairing an organization like APO is definitely relevant for your prep. Ties into understanding international and regional bodies India's involved in, foreign policy in the Asia-Pacific, also economic cooperation frameworks, productivity concepts, India's role as a founder and now leader, and just how these international structures work. Again, maybe good revision for some.
All right, let's do a really big shift now, way out into space. News about an astronomical discovery, a binary star system. That's right. So a binary star system. Fundamentally, it's just two stars gravitationally bound together. They orbit a common center of mass, called a barycenter. And the stars don't have to be twins. Usually one's bigger or brighter, the primary, and the other's the secondary, or companion.
I've heard double star used too. Is that the same thing?
Good question. The sources make an interesting point there. All binary stars are double stars, but not all double stars are truly binary. Some are just optical doubles. They look close together from our viewpoint on Earth, but they're actually incredibly far apart and not linked by gravity at all. Just a line of sight thing.
Got it. So are these binary systems common? Are suns flying solo?
Yeah, our sun is actually a bit unusual in that respect. The vast majority of stars, estimates say maybe around 85%, exist in binary or even multiple star systems.
Right.
It's much more common than single stars like ours. These systems can be varied too, not just two normal stars. You can have a normal star paired with a stellar remnant. That's what's left after a star runs out of fuel, like a white dwarf, a neutron star, or even a black hole. Really old systems might even have two stellar remnants orbiting each other. And another cool thing, if the stars are close enough in a binary system, mass can actually transfer from one star to the other. Now, the specific news here involves a discovery by a team in China. They found a binary system where one object is a millisecond pulsar.
Oh, what now?
A millisecond pulsar, basically a very, very rapidly spinning neutron star. And its companion star is made mostly of helium.
A super fast spinning neutron star orbiting a helium star. Okay, that's pretty specialized astronomy. For your prep, this touches on basic astronomy concepts, astrophysics, different celestial objects, binary stars, pulsars, stellar remnants, also the scale of the universe, how scientific discoveries happen, and understanding these specific types of stars helps build models of how stars evolve over time. Okay, let's swing from the farthest stars right down to the deepest oceans. Our next topic is about a creature called Alicella gigantea, once thought rare, but maybe not.
Alicella gigantea, yeah, it's quite something. It's a giant amphipod crustacean. Now, amphipods themselves are common, shrimp-like things, thousands of species in water everywhere. But this one is huge for an amphipod, one of the biggest deep-sea ones known. Can grow up to 34 centimeters long. For ages, it was considered incredibly rare. Very few sightings. There was one big one, 28 centimeters, found really deep in the North Pacific, over 5,300 meters down, that wasn't even identified for years. Its home is the really deep sea. Abyssal depths, that's 3,000 to 6,000 meters. And even Haddle zones, deeper than 6,000 meters. It's been found down to nearly 6,800 meters. True deep-sea dweller.
So despite only being seen rarely in these super deep spots, the new research says it's not actually rare.
That's the surprising part, yeah. This new research pulled together a ton of data. They compiled 195 records of Alicella gigantea from 75 different locations across the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans, covering 15 different types of seafloor features. And based on all that data, they concluded it's not some localized oddity. It's actually a globally distributed species found in deep oceans worldwide.
That's a major shift in understanding. Did the research point to any ocean being particularly important for it?
It did. The Pacific Ocean came out as its most significant habitat. The study estimated that a huge chunk, 75% of the Pacific seafloor area, falls within the right depth range for Alicella gigantea to live.
Interesting. So this topic covers marine biology, deep-sea ecosystems, exploration, biodiversity in extreme places, also taxonomy crustaceans, amphipods, understanding how species are distributed globally, and how research, especially compiling lots of data, can really change what we thought we knew. Highlights how much we still don't know about the deep ocean. Okay, final topic for this deep dive, bringing it back to education and research in India, specifically concerns about fellowship delays under a particular scheme.
Right, this involves the INSPIRE scheme. INSPIRE stands for Innovation in Science Pursuit for Inspired Research. It's a flagship program of the Department of Science and Technology, DST, under the Ministry of Science and Technology. Launched back in 2008, its big vision is to build up India's human resource base in S&T and R&D, strengthen the whole ecosystem.
What makes INSPIRE stand out from other scholarship programs?
One key feature, the sources highlight, is how it identifies talent. Unlike many schemes based on competitive entrance exams, INSPIRE relies more on merit-based identification. Looking at existing academic performance, like school board results or university ranks, the idea is to spot potential based on consistent achievement, not just one exam.
And the recent news is specifically about the INSPIRE Fellowship component.
Correct. The INSPIRE Fellowship is one part of the larger scheme. It's specifically aimed at promoting research careers, mainly in basic sciences, trying to nurture talent, attract top students into research instead of maybe other paths. Every year, they select about 1,000 scholars for this fellowship. Selection is based on academic merit plus the quality of their research proposal, which gets reviewed.
What are the eligibility criteria the source mentioned?
They're quite specific. You generally need to be a first-rank holder in your master's degree in science, applied sciences, or engineering. Or there's another route. If you were an INSPIRE scholar earlier, you need at least 70% aggregate marks in both UG and PG, and you must have been in the top 1% in your Class 12 board exams, or a top performer in national exams like IATG. So high academic achievement is key. Just briefly, the overall INSPIRE scheme has 3 parts. Seats for attracting school kids to science, SHE for scholarships in higher education UGPG science, and AOAC, assured opportunity for research careers, which is where these fellowships fit in, along with faculty awards. And the news point, as you said, is that research scholars across India have raised concerns about not receiving their INSPIRE fellowship money for quite some time periods ranging from 8 to 13 months are mentioned.
Okay, so for your preparation, INSPIRE is a key example of government schemes in education in S&T. It covers the role of DST, human resource development for science, building the R&D ecosystem, attracting talent to research, also understanding scheme components, eligibility, and, well, the practical implementation challenges that can sometimes arise. That brings us to the end of this particular deep dive. Wrapping up the sources for 25th May 2025, Part 1.
We really covered a lot of ground today, didn't we? Quite a spectrum. Everything from rural service delivery with BSK, global health threats like zoonotic diseases and AMR via the WOH report, meteor regulation with CBFC, then biodiversity hotspots like Keoladeo, the science of critical minerals like lithium, RBI's role in the economy, India's international role with APO, and even deep space discoveries and deep-sea creatures, alongside the practicalities of supporting research back home with Inspire. And while they seem all over the place looking at them together, you really see the complexity and the interconnectedness of everything shaping the world today. From policy on the ground to global health, fundamental science, it's all relevant to the landscape you're preparing for.
Absolutely. We really hope this deep dive was a useful shortcut for you, helping you get up to speed quickly on these key topics from today's sources. And if you did find it helpful for your preparation, please do take a second now to like this deep dive and hit subscribe on the channel. It really helps us reach more aspirants like you, and it means you won't miss the next one. Until the next deep dive, stay curious and keep digging into those details.